I was working at a car dealership in Connecticut, my home state, and a man called me on the phone and said, I need to rent a van. I'm taking a bunch of our church folks up to a camp meeting, and we need to rent a van. And I said, well, what camp meeting are y'all going to? And he said, the United Pentecostal. Well, I've been familiar with the UPC since I was a kid, so I knew, of course, they were apostolic. And I said, when you get here to pick up your van, I said, may I speak to you for a moment? So he came to get the van, and I took him aside, and I said, the Lord recently told me to go to an apostolic church. And I said, and then you called me seeking a van to go to an apostolic camp meeting. I said, well, can I go with you to your camp meeting, and are you ready for a new church member? And he stood there, and his jaw was agape. He's like, I've never had anybody just come to me like that and say, I said, well, God spoke to me. And when the Lord speaks to me, I'm smart enough to know I need to listen. I'm smart enough to know I need to pay attention to what he's saying. And I need to follow the leading of the Holy Ghost. So I began to go to his church. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. He bored the pants off me. This pastor bored me until I thought I was going to die. I'm not even joking. He was a lovely man. He was a man, I believe, of great integrity, and, I don't take any of that away from him. But he worked third shift as a dental technician. He made dentures and stuff like that, but he worked third shift. And when he'd get up to preach, he was so tired half the time that he'd get up there and droned on and on and on. And I mean, his poor mother-in-law, who was part of the church, his work was new, and matter of fact, they had been in the city for a couple of years, and being an apostolic work, they're notoriously slow growing. He only had about maybe 8 or 10 people, and his own mother-in-law would fall asleep while he was preaching, literally, and I mean to the point that she snored. He bored me to death, but you know what? I knew that's where God wanted me to be. There was something there for me to learn. And I'm going to tell you, I learned a lot under this man. A lot of it I didn't learn while he was in the pulpit preaching. A lot of it I learned with him one-on-one. He shared a lot of things with me one-on-one that to this day, I remember every word he said to me. He was a great mentor. He was a terrible preacher, but he was a marvelous mentor.